Quilliam is an organisation that was set up by former extremists in 2008. We're set up really to focus on counter-extremism. One of the things that we've done recently is we've undergone a significant expansion of the theology and outreach team. We've recruited Muslims that have, in some cases, academic qualifications, in other cases, life experiences. Pluralism within Quilliam is very important because when we're going out, we're actually looking at pluralism within our societies as well.
The great thing about Quilliam is that one colleague or one society member can have a position on politics on one angle and another on the other. But as long as we're all bound by that universal human rights message and we're all bound by that importance of dialogue, then we all, in some way, Quilliam.
My interaction with the Quilliam Foundation is quite interesting because originally I was critical. I was part of Al-Azhari, which is a prescribed organisation, also known as ISIS UK, and I spent a great portion of my time propagating their ideas, visiting demonstrations, giving lectures. The greatest challenge that Muslims and Islam is facing now is extremism in its varying forms. And what we have now is the dominant interpretation of Islam is one that is lost all its beauty, that is disconnected to its intellectual heritage, and is divorced from ethics. And I feel that the Quilliam Foundation has the right strategy and is the right vehicle to challenge that dominant view.
Quilliam is actually endeavouring to find the balanced middle way. And in Muslim terms, that is the Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path. Part and parcel of their counter-extremism work is exposing the fallacies of radical Islamist ideology.
Growth of extremism is actually no surprise to myself and many of my colleagues in the Islamist movements, because this is actually nothing new. The Islamist movements all established bases in this country from the 70s and 80s. They set up centres, they set up mosques, they set up organisations. Now what we're seeing with ISIS is really, in my view, the natural fruit, the rotten fruit if you like. And what I think we need is 2 or 3 decades of the opposite kind of work, which I think we're involved with at Quilliam, with a large team now.
I believe through my own education, traditional education and Western education too, and my skills and experience with working on the grassroots levels, I would be able to continue the tradition of tajdeed, which we have it in Islamic traditions, for relating Islam to the modern context, which the Prophet himself just mentioned in many traditions, that over a period of time God will send some people to renew the interpretation of religion.
If we look at what ISIS and ISIL are doing, they are violating God's names left, right and centre. It is an ontological blasphemy what they are engaged in. But because they use certain select verses of the Quran and use them for their own purposes, they get away with it.
The only way to change the community is with challenge, and with challenge comes change. So my experience in those kind of areas is, I think, it's helpful. Because I used to sort of propagate these views myself, I also know how to deconstruct them.
I know from my background as an activist is that you can have great books sitting on a shelf, but they're having no impact if nobody's reading them. You have to actually drive ideas forward into the community. We did that as activists, day in, day out, week in, week out for 20 odd years. Now we need to do the same with good ideas, with better ideas.
I think one of the most exciting nature of the project is just not to work in the office, not to work with the books and the ideas alone, but to reach out to the grassroots levels, which is a very vulnerable area, which is left out, free playground to the Islamists to promote their ideas and views.
Through outreach, through students at schools and in primarily universities where I work, it requires different lectures on different topics, ranging from refugee crisis to women's rights, to Islamic history, to countering extremism and so on. And really, but at the crux of all those lectures is this idea that all faiths, all cultures, all genders have to unite against extremism. Extremists try and divide us and them. We have to do away with that. We have to say that we're all together, Hindu, Jews, Muslims, whatever, all together against that one form of intolerance, divisiveness. And this is a human problem. Today, it might be prominent in Islamist extremism. Tomorrow, it could be something else.
If we're able to reach out to the universities, to campuses, to schools, We hopefully in the future just be able to reach to mosques and local communities. I think by reaching out, by explaining the huge difference between the Islamist narratives and that they don't represent the true interpretation of Islam, we will be able to promote these ideas.
Since we're grounded on God in this, I'm very optimistic. I think people have within them, embedded within them, the capacity to discern what is right from wrong. This isn't what my Islam is about. You get that kind of response. So it kind of evokes something that is innate within us. The fitrah, if you want to use the Muslim term.
If you don't debate the extremist narratives, what you've essentially done is sweep it under the carpet. It pops itself up onto the glitz and glamour of YouTube with songs and editing behind it too. So you haven't really dealt with the issue at hand. And that's what this is all about. It's about compromising their appeal through free dialogue and debate and discussion.
I'm optimistic because the extremist narrative is a weak one. It's very weak. It has no grounding, and all we need is the opportunity to take it head on.
Being here, I will be able to sharpen my tools and some skills to further challenge extremist ideologies and promote pluralistic views and inspire change.
In my own mind, I know I'm kind of committed to this kind of work for the rest of my life, however long that is.
It's not even the counter-narrative, it's the original narrative. That's what I would say.
One of the things I feel really optimistic about is that 11 years ago, there were only 1 or 2 Muslims who were British in the whole of the UK that were actually challenging extremism from within. Now, I'm so optimistic that we can attract the calibre of people to speak up, to get involved. So not only do we have the team that's joined us, behind each team they have their congregations, they have people that they coach, that they mentor, people that they're influencing. So I'm very, very optimistic about the future, but I do want to say one thing. This is not something that I think we will win in the short term. This is a struggle for the long term, and we need civil society, and we need people like the guys that we've just recruited now recently to come along and join in the struggle.